Hello, beautiful, and welcome to the Finding Fertility podcast. I'm Monica, your mentor in uncovering the hidden layers of your fertility journey. Together, we'll discover the right path for you within the 6 essential steps to creating the family of your dreams. We'll ditch the overwhelm, tune into your intuition, and build a vibrant foundation for your fertility. Whether it's through gut health, subconscious healing, or energetic alignment, you can unlock your body's natural power to get and stay pregnant. Your fertility journey is all about radical responsibility and deeply believing that your body is on your side. It's time to stay consistent, embrace trust, surrender, and create the transformation you deserve. Finding Fertility does not diagnose, prescribe, or treat any fertility issues. What we do is empower you to take control of your health by uncovering the root causes holding you back. Let's do this together. Happy Friday, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Finding Fertility. I'm your host, Monica Cox, and I'm so honored you are here becoming the conscious mama you were born to be. So today we are on week 4 of Mabel's 10 Truths with Monique and Monica. And I hope by now you're seeing that these are much more than stories, that they're actually mirrors that you can use to really help you, break through some of the things that might be keeping you stuck, either energetically or even just being able to show up for yourself consistently. Remember, we tend to overcomplicate the work, and it can be very simple, and it can start bringing more coherence into your life. So that means not just the knowledge, not just the theory, not just in your journal, not just on your yoga mat, but actually the way you move throughout your day. Many of you are well on your way of actually knowing what to do. Many of you know what to do, but aren't living it. And girl, I get it. I was there for years, not only in my fertility journey, but also in my motherhood journey. And I continue to find areas that I can put, bring more coherence into my life and bring in the practices that I truly love and just be able to show up with way more ease in every aspect of my life. And remember, coherence isn't about perfection. We do not need to be perfect to get and stay pregnant. It's about showing up. It's about staying consistent again and again. Remember, your consistent action creates your evidence. And it's bridging that gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it. So today, we are talking about something that I think 100% of people have in some way, shape, or form in their life, and that's buried emotional baggage. You can have, 500 suitcases lined up full of crap that isn't yours, or you can have 1 or 2 suitcases that you just don't even, you're not even, like, you don't even realize. I know that was the truth for me. I wasn't aware of all the buried emotions and belief systems that I was carrying around because I was fortunate. I had a happy life. I, didn't have any quote unquote big traumas, but lo and behold, I had quite a few pieces of luggage and a lot of them that weren't mine. So I have homework for you guys this week, and I really hope that you take this on. But before I do, I want to highlight in the 6 steps to boost your embryos, the workshop online, and in the Amazon hard, like a physical copy of this journal, there's a diagram. And just note that this PDF is in every single course that is available. But it's a bunch of circles, and they're all sat on top of each other. And the smallest circle where everything starts is your belief. And that's your unconscious mind. Like I say, we sometimes we're not, we don't even know that they're there. But this is the blueprint. This also can be highly connected to your nervous system. Your nervous system is literally the hologram. It like creates the hologram of your life. So when things happen and you quote unquote get triggered, that's your nervous system just reacting to what it's used to. So the next circle, which is a little bit bigger, is your emotions. So that's your subconscious mind, right? What emotions are attached to that belief system? What emotions are attached to the physical situations that you were in. The next one is your thoughts, and that's your conscious mind. So you can all be radically honest with yourself and start watching how you think. What are your consistent thoughts? Remember, it's not the random ones. We all have those. It's the ones, oh, that story's on replay. Why am I replaying that? Why am I always saying that to myself? Like, that's ridiculous. So, the next one is your habits and patterns. So, this is your automatic mind, right? So, these are the physical things that you are doing, but these come from your beliefs, your emotion, and your thoughts. And then the biggest circle is your reality. So the beliefs, emotions, thoughts, habits, and patterns create your reality. And remember, your nervous system is that hologram. So you have to have a regulated nervous system to really to even dive into some of this stuff. But it can kind of coexist as well. So if you want more information on that, I really highly recommend jumping into the workshop or going over to Amazon. It's a really good place to start. If you haven't already, I highly recommend go reading week 4. It's going to give you a really good insight of how easy this stuff can be. I wrote it this week where Mabel's on her own. And my whole coaching style is I want you to become your own healer. So I'm definitely there to help catalyze you and get you to where you want to go a lot quicker. That's what a coach does. They can see your BS. Like it's very valuable for someone to be helping you through certain times. But also, we need to start learning these things for ourselves. And so, some really quick whole brain modalities can go a long way. Really get an outline because if you're interested in doing the journaling prompts at the end of this episode, it's going to kind of give you a cheat sheet of like, oh, this is how Mabel did it. Oh, okay, I don't have to overthink it. Oh, I don't have to write 5 paragraphs, right? Like, I just need to identify it and then flip it. Like, okay, I can do this. So before I give you the journal prompts, I want to talk about 3 specific things. Emotional baggage doesn't stay buried. It will give you warning signs. Whether you acknowledge it or not, those old wounds, that unresolved grief, the resentment that you still hold on to, it will not just disappear. It will show up in ways we don't always recognize. The way we react to stress, in our ability to trust ourselves, in our relationships, our self-worth, and eventually our physical health. And a very unpopular opinion, I'm already going to say it's already showing up for everyone dealing with fertility issues that isn't a physical issue or an issue that is not kind of resolved by functional medicine practices or holistic practices, right? So these things could be like chronic tension in your shoulders, gut issues that won't go away. I just met a woman in a discovery call that has worked with some of the top holistic functional medicine doctors out there on SIBO, and she has not been able to clear it. Not with diet, not with supplementations, not with getting rid of her mold. And she's very fortunate that she's willing to let herself look into this different aspect of stuck emotions. Maybe I'll do another podcast episode of, the emotional tie to SIBO. So you're looking at chronic issues that you are doing everything right physically, but they just won't go away, or a constant feeling of exhaustion that no amount of rest seems to fix. I also know a few women like that. So sometimes what we're feeling physically is really just emotional baggage that we haven't dealt with. And if you are like, this is me, I feel like I'm doing everything right, but it's quote unquote still not working. If you allow yourself, like I did, right? Like I was so sick of eating autoimmune paleo, that I was like, I'm willing to look. It turns out my tolerance to nightshades basically was my dad's bullshit. God rest his soul. So if you've been telling yourself, I don't have time to deal with this emotional baggage right now, or even if you feel like you've been dealing with it, hopefully this little insight might give you a new way of dealing with it, okay? Getting really to the root of the emotional energetics behind that energy. And I feel like I don't even have to say this, but you guys know avoiding these emotions just won't make them disappear. It just lets them operate from the shadows, pulling the strings without you even realizing it. So, in Mabel's story this week, she uncovers that staying silent was a top behavior from her mom, who she absolutely adores. But I think a lot of people can resonate with this. I know, like, obviously I could, because if you guys haven't figured out, I am Mabel, I am Monique, I am Monica. A lot of these are from personal experience. We just grew up in environments where emotions weren't accepted. And they definitely were not like a taught thing in how to regulate your emotions. I mean, I wasn't even really allowed to express them. I was told that Wendy the whiner wasn't invited. Big girls don't cry. You know, all those little things that aren't child abuse. They're you're not really speaking to a child in a negative way, per se, but to a little girl being told those things again and again and again. Yeah, I learned not to cry. Let me tell you, I learned to stuff those emotions deep down, so down that it absolutely destroyed my gut health. And then, obviously eating crappy food didn't help and drinking a fair share of alcohol. Maybe you were taught that keeping the peace was more important than acknowledging how you truly felt. Maybe your parents just didn't want to deal with your emotions because they were raised by the silent generations and emotions weren't even a thing. Think back to your own journey, how your emotions were dealt with. How many times did you hear, it's fine, just let it go, don't be so sensitive, it's not worth getting upset over, you're okay, don't cry. I even catch myself saying stuff like that to my sons, and I, bite my tongue and I'm like, absolutely not. How are you feeling? Let me give you a safe space. If you have big emotions, let's go find a big space where you can release that. And then when you are ready, when you are out of that, whatever position in your brain that is not conscious right now, then we can have a real conversation about what's going on. So many of us learned. You learn to smooth things over. You learn to swallow your emotions, to stay quiet instead of speaking up. And speaking up, I don't want to say especially for a woman, but that's kind of what was about to come out, is so important to your authenticity, to your creativity, to everything. And those types of emotions were for the weak people. And we had to be strong. But as we all know now, avoiding emotions is not the same as mastering them. Real strength isn't in the silence, it's in your awareness. It's in facing what's uncomfortable and choosing to release what no longer serves you. And now you are a grown woman. You can do this for yourself, right? In safe spaces. You can do this in your room alone with a journal, with a pretend microphone, screaming into your pillow. You are not that little girl anymore who was basically forced to XYZ. It's really time to start facing, those shadows of yourself and giving that child her voice back. And this is the power of reflection and release. This is where the work really begins, when you bring these buried emotions to the surface. And this is where the work really begins, when you bring these buried emotions to the surface and take control back. Because as you guys know, you can't heal what you're unwilling to look at. And for some of you, this might feel really overwhelming. And please, everyone, start where you feel comfortable. But it starts with that awareness, that radical responsibility that I talk about. It starts with you giving yourself permission to unpack what's been sitting there, hiding away for decades. So, using a journal or using or just speaking out loud, whatever your jam is, it's really important that you take this consistent action and really start asking the harder questions and just allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to say it. Because I have a lot of clients, and I know I did this too. It's like, oh, but my parents were good, but I love my parents. And then this is why I put it in Mabel's story, because we don't need the evidence of the people who know their parents were actually dickheads, or, like weren't the type of parents if they knew better would do better, right? There's difference. Like there's a lot of us who have the conscious knowledge, like our parents did the best that they could. They did better than their parents. Okay, they were not perfect, but I get that now. We can consciously see that. But subconsciously, your little inner child does not know that. It does not feel that. Your nervous system does not feel that. So it's giving yourself radical permission to release this stuff. And no one has to know, unless it comes up really heavy in your heart that you need to write a physical letter or email or text to that person. No one has to know. You are letting these emotions go from your body. And I'll tell you what, the very first thing I was gonna make this podcast short, but I'm gonna tell you this story. The very first instant that I 100% knew that this energetic stuff was real, I volunteered in a group coaching session to be the guinea pig for emotional freedom tapping. And it had to do around when I was in middle school, my four best friends basically turned on me. And I mean, broke my heart, right? Really broke my heart. And I never felt I never felt safe in a group again until now. And I never felt safe around women because obviously my girlfriends were girls and women. And so I did this emotional freedom tapping, and it wasn't even really centered about the ringleader because there was one who, like had more emotional baggage than the others. And, in hindsight, I probably had more than her too. Like, there's no judgment here. I think like 2 weeks later, after this emotional freedom tapping, and we're talking like 20 years plus from middle school, this woman like friends me on Facebook out of nowhere. And I was like, there's no way that's coincidence. There's no way that I just had this big emotional release around that. And then she just randomly does that. I was like, there's obviously something into this energetic stuff. I have to admit, it took me another year to ignore all the modalities out there, um, because it was really scary. Change and going through that type of stuff is really scary. And when it's new, and even if you're like, oh, this is woo, just give yourself grace. Okay. Just know that I didn't read one book and become like the person that I am today. And I'm definitely not going to stop where I'm at. I'm going to continue going. So the cliche, this is a journey. Okay. Anyways, we're going to get back on track. Okay. So like I said, read chapter 4, week 4. You'll see how easy this is. And these journal prompts, you can go as deep as you want. And remember, sometimes you're going to get several layers to this. Try your hardest if you're like, oh, I have 5 things, right? Okay, so let's go with the first one. What did I need as a child that I never got? What emotions did I have to suppress? How did I learn to cope? How is showing up? How is this showing up in my life now? Okay, so those are all, it's big, right? So if you have a few different things, remember to just write them down and just be intuitively led to the one that feels the heaviest. Or maybe the one that feels the lightest. Like, okay, I can unpack this one. This one's easier. And so you want to answer those questions for yourself. Okay, so that's the first one. And these are going to be all down in the show notes. So if you're driving, don't worry. You can go back, look at the show notes, and take some time to really start exploring these. A lot of the time when I was doing these activities for myself, when I first got into the subconscious empowerment releases, and you'll see when you read Mabel's story how easy it is to flip these for yourself, that I used a spider like web graph thing. So I would say, what emotions did I have to suppress? And that would be like my center. And then I would have to put like crying, when I got angry, when I got sassy. And you just label those. And then from those circles, you can start branching off maybe about different physical events that you remember, or about phrases. Like I said, if there was a phrase that your parents continuously said to yourself, how did you, or said to you, how did that make you feel? So just make this really easy for yourself, okay? Okay, the second question is, if I let myself be really, truly angry, what would I say? Okay, so now this can stem from question one, or this can be something completely different. But I want you to not edit. I don't want you to judge it. It needs to be really raw and unfiltered emotion. Who are you angry at? Are you angry at yourself, someone else, at life, at the expectations, at the situation? And what have I been swallowing down for years? Okay, and the third question is, what's the story I've been telling myself about my body, my worth, and my ability to become a mom? Okay, so this one's more directed about your fertility journey now. I got a comment on one of my TikToks the other week about how I was reading from the 6 steps to boost your embryo, how like a healthy mom would never like say these things about herself. And she was saying, I didn't believe that about myself until I started having fertility issues, and now I believe it. And that's the key. A lot of us do not live most of our lives thinking we're going to have fertility issues. And so that's not even really in our conscious mind, but now it is. So you got to dig a little bit deep and get rid of those stories, so your trying to conceive journey can just be super peaceful and really more about building up that conscious mama you were born to be, right? Like, you're not someone who deals with fertility issues. You got gut health. I don't, and then you even go a step. I don't have gut health issues because I'm fixing that stuff, right? So where did the story start? Whose voice does it sound like? And what happens if you let that story go? Because in the next few weeks, we're going to be talking a lot about the fear of success, which I'm, if anyone's listening to this and you're in business, it's a thing. Most people are like, what? You can't be fearful of that. Oh, yes, you can. I know I was. Um, and then even deeper, we're going to go into, who am I if I'm not constantly trying to fix something, right? Because we start identifying as these kind of issues, or these beliefs, or these emotions that we have been carrying around for decades or maybe a few years. So it's really important to start letting all of this shit go. And I really hope these 3 journal prompts and seeing how Mabel work through them can be very supportive. If you don't know what a whole brain state is, because some of you probably haven't jumped into the workshop, and the workshop, it's only $47. It gives you this information. If you like that information and you want to go even deeper, that's when I say jump into fertile mind or dreams. But a whole brain state is basically aligning your 2 brains together. That's what happens when you get into theta. That's what happens when you get into meditation. Meditation is essential. I'm not going to say you don't need to meditate. Like, yeah, everyone needs to practice quieting their mind, especially in this landscape we live in, right? But there's an easier way than getting yourself into a deep meditation and theta state to switch these subconscious beliefs, to switch these emotions. And that's just called a whole brain state. It's easily done with a figure eight from left to right of your brain hemisphere. And I've done this in a meditation with you guys, I think probably like 4 weeks ago. Imagining the figure eight, left to right, left to right, left to right, crossing over your left side of your body and your right side of the body. So your wrist crossing, your ankles crossing. Oh, what is it called? Where you like tap your hand to your knee opposite. Oh, there's cross, right? That gets you into a whole brain state. And I know a lot of this seems so simple, and you're like, no, it's supposed to be really, really hard to do this stuff. Look, it's what you make of it. There's going to be aspects of your journey that are going to be hard, that it's going to require much more than just doing a figure eight in your brain and switching an emotion, right? But I'm telling you right now, there's so many layers to this that you got to start allowing yourself for at least 80 to 90% of this journey to be easy, to let go. And the heavier stuff, allow it to be heavy. You know, there's been times where I've been able to do subconscious empowerment stuff, whole brain stuff. I can do like 10 to 20. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. I'm just flowing. It's just like, yep, it's coming up. It feels good, go, go. The surrender meditation inside of, I think it's in the workshop, definitely in Fertile Mind and Dreams, is a little bit heavier. It's a little bit heavier. And I've done one of, I've done them many, many times. Not that necessarily that specific one, but different ones. And it's heavy. And I'm like, that's it. That's enough for like a week. Because a lot of the times too, people don't understand that there's time to integrate these things. And you'll see in week 4 that there are physical action steps. I hope you guys have been picking this up through the stories, that yes, you can switch that subconscious belief easily, but the other thing you have to do is start moving differently in your physical life. This isn't an and or game. When you hear functional medicine people, experts, doctors, practitioners say physical, 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 great. That can only get you so far. And it will see, I got results. I didn't have to do any of this energetic stuff. I got results. And then when you hear the spiritual, more energy people kind of forgetting about the physical stuff, like, oh, it's not that important. You just have to have the energy. I'm sitting there going like, people, we are physical beings on a physical earth playing a physical game. Yes, we are light and energy, but you cannot just energy your way through this. That's not how it's designed. So remember, when you change that subconscious belief, when you feel it in your body, because, sometimes it's a little light feeling, and sometimes it's like, whoa, that moved quick and heavy. Okay, what are you going to do differently in your physical life that's going to help make that new subconscious belief, make that new emotion stick? And that's where the whole your neurons fire together, wire together, science stuff comes into it. So I hope that week 4's story chapter, this podcast, something has come up for you, whether it's willing to dive a little bit deeper or willing to just jump in. That means you have been taking radical responsibility. You're ready to start putting in the quote unquote work. You're bringing in the awareness of what has been buried, the stories that have been running in the background, shaping your choices, shaping your emotion, and shaping the physical elements that we're dealing with right now. So I'm super proud of you, because awareness, you have to have that awareness before you can go anywhere else. And next week, we are going to dive into something, like I said before, a lot of us just don't expect to struggle with. And that's the fear of what success might look like. We say we want it, we say we're ready, But deep down, success can feel just as scary as failure. Because if the struggle finally ends, then what? I mean, come on, let's just be honest. All of us are happy. But I once again can guarantee you that the things that you have left unresolved now will show up in motherhood. And that's kind of the then what in a fertility journey. And like I said, the following week, we'll dive even deeper into that because a lot of us will hold on. Who do we become when the identity of the one who's fighting is no longer yours to hold on to? The one who wants to be the fixer, to be doing the research. Those are all control patterns that we want to get rid of. But let's just start with this week. Give yourself time, let it marinate. Pay attention to the ways you might still be holding on to what's familiar, even if you know it's time to release it. And remember, if you want more, I dare say information, but just more resources, the 6 steps to boost your embryos, whether you get the workshop online or the physical copy from Amazon, is going to give you good enough information to really dive into this stuff. If you're already there, if you're like, yeah, I'm already kind of doing this stuff, but you want a little bit more, that's when you jump into Fertile Mind or Dreams. Okay, my beautiful friend, everything is down in the show notes for you to do your journal prompts, read week 4, and get the accountability that you need. Remember, you can jump into a group coaching session as well. They happen once a week, or book a private session with me. But I hope you have a wonderful week, and we will see you next Friday for week 5. Have a great one. Thank you once again for tuning in and becoming the conscious mama you were born to be. Remember, I wasn't some magical unicorn who stumbled into fertility success. I stayed consistent, I put in the work, and I made it happen. And guess what? You can too. By discovering the right path for you in the 6 essential steps, including diet, rest and recovery, energetics, awareness, mindset, and surrender, you can create the family of your dreams. I know you've already downloaded the amazing free guide, but if you're ready to really truly step into real action, make sure you either grab the 6 steps to boost your embryos or look into Fertile Body for physical support, Fertile Mind for mindset and energetics. And if you want it all, that's where Dreams, the online course, comes in. Make sure for personal guidance, you can join a community session or book a one-to-one private call. And remember this, transformation happens when you stay committed to yourself. Trust your body, follow your intuition, make it possible. Oh, and if you're still here and you love this podcast, please take some time to leave us a review. It's like literally the only way other people can find this podcast. So help a sister out.